on page 64 of the report, which is contradictory to some of our more negative views about it being a protracted period. It's not totally clear that that would be the case, because in their own paper they say it is of paramount importance that they join the European Union as quickly as possible.
Take Europe, for example, there will be a paper, as I said, I think a moment ago, dedicated to issues around European membership. Yes, there will be a process of negotiation that is required there, but nobody with any credibility seriously suggests that Scotland would not be welcome back into the European Union. And while there would be a process of negotiation, most people who know what they're talking about on this issue are very clear that that would not be a particularly lengthy process. But these are issues that we will continue to update and inform people on.
And throughout the whole report, they consistently and recurrently refer to being in the European Union. They don't mention EFTA or European Economic Area, it's the European Union. And of course, they would require to be a currency issuer to even be considered. So there is a bit of ambiguity in terms of ascertaining just exactly what timescales referred to here.
Yeah, about just picking you up on having to have a currency before we'd even be considered. We could engage with the EU. We could start on their formal, they've got a whole set of chapters that you formally work through to move towards being, accepted into the EU. That can all go ahead even without a country having its own currency. So, there could be a kind of dual process, so it wouldn't happen until after independence.
But there is nothing that would stop an independent Scotland or any country applying to join or rejoin, in our case, the EU, before we have our own currency. Clearly, the negotiation around rejoining and the process of establishing our own currency would be processes that we would want to align. But the idea that we would have to have our own currency before we start that process of re-entry to the EU is not the case.
So there could be a group of people working with the EU to work through and come up with a proposal to join the EU, which presumably then there has to be a referendum about. Commentators like Kirsty Hughes reckon that could be done in 4 to 5 years, which apparently is quite quick. But at the same time, but it doesn't mean you have to have your own currency in those 4 to 5 years, but you definitely would have to have your currency before you'd get accession. Yeah. So it could be, there could be a kind of parallel set of negotiations going on or work going on, couldn't there?
I mean, I would hope the discussions are taking place right now in terms of an independent Scotland joining the EU. I'd be very disappointed if that wasn't the case. But whatever discussions take place now or at some time in the not too distant future, we still would have to be a currency issuer in our own right. We
want these processes to be as short as possible for obvious reasons, and have confidence that they can be short periods of time. And I would repeat a point I've already made. There is no other route back into the EU other than Scotland being independent. So yes, there will be a process that we have to go through to achieve that, but that is compared to the alternative of a permanent existence outside the EU, which is what we will have if we remain part of the UK.